Alrighty, so I played with brand new Monkey Souls. I'm about 4 hours in, and so far, it's been a blast. Now, going into this game, I honestly didn't know what to expect, because it looked good, and I mean really good. Possibly too good to be true. Because there have been all those trailers where the game's graphics look amazing, and the gameplay just isn't quite there. But so far, that hasn't been the case with Black Myth Wukong, at least from my experience so far, because again, I am only about 4 hours in, so I don't think I have a full picture of what the game has to offer. And to be fair, yes, the game is quite pretty, but that's not why I'm enjoying it so far. What I've really been enjoying is the combat. Right now, I'm not fully sure I can do this game's combat justice, because there's quite a bit to it, and I haven't fully experienced it yet. And so instead, I'm going to show rather than tell. Because in one of the early areas, there's a mini-boss. Now, there's no reason to fight this mini-boss. This mini-boss is extremely difficult. He will absolutely destroy you. And, as far as I can tell, you can just walk past him and ignore him. He's a totally optional boss. Think of something like the Tree Sentinel from Elden Ring. But I decided, you know what? I'm going to fight him because that's going to force me to get good, or at least get gooder than I would be if I just ran past and went on to the next fight. And so, this is going to be that battle. Something that I struggled with for about an hour before I finally realized, you know what? I was being way too aggressive, spamming my abilities too much. I just needed to chill, take a minute, think, let the enemy attack, react to his strikes, and then, of course, beat his face in as soon as he gave me the opportunity. So if you want to see my thoughts on the combat after experiencing it more, do be sure to get subscribed. But for now, here is that battle, and oh man, it was super satisfying when I finally won. Alright, so let's break this down just a little bit. For most of combat, you use a mix of light attacks, heavy attacks, and dodges. Light attacks are fast, they fluidly combo into each other, and they're easy to interrupt if you need to dodge out of the way. Heavy attacks, on the other hand, are much slower, they can be charged to significantly increase the damage, and of course, your odds of stunning the enemy, but there's a little bit of a wait after you use a heavy attack before you can do another action. So if you spam heavy attacks, you're probably going to feel like the combat is a bit slower and clunkier. In short, the way I've been playing so far, light attacks for most of my damage, dodge when an enemy is doing something scary, heavy attack when I want to inflict the big bonk on them. The light attack finisher also seems to have a pretty significant stagger, which is a little bit hard to pull off because you have to finish the whole combo without the enemy hitting you in the face, but if you manage to pull it off, then it is quite fun. Then last up, a couple times, you might have noticed the enemy freeze in place. This is the Immobilize spell. In Black Myth Wukong, you have spells which you can use. Now right now, I only have the first one, which is unlocked near the start of the game, and so far they seem to work similarly to runes from The Witcher, where you're able to learn these spells and then cast them on enemies to give yourself an advantage. In this case, freezing the enemy in place and increasing the damage that they take. Plus, as you level up, you're able to assign your sparks to either enhance your light attacks or heavy attacks, give yourself more health, more stamina, reduce the stamina cost for dodge, or further enhance your spells. And so that's the basics. But it really does get more complicated than that. Because, first of all, you have to learn enemy tells. Not every enemy attacks in the same way. For normal foes, it's pretty darn easy. You just bonk them with a heavy attack, and a charged heavy pretty much takes them out immediately. Which is a good time to talk about how mobility has affected combat so far. Both your light attack and heavy attack have a pretty good range. You can light attack or heavy attack while jumping to either get out of the way of an enemy's attack, or hit them with a big bonk from the overhead slam. Though as far as I can tell, it doesn't really hit that much harder, especially with a light attack. It's more about the style points. Now, if you enhance your staff stance, you get the ability to see through enemy strikes. You do this by executing a heavy attack right as an enemy is trying to attack you in the middle of a light attack combo while expelling a focus point. The focus points being the little pips down on the bottom right side that you charge up to make your heavy attacks hit harder. Do all of this correctly and you will not only take 0 damage from the enemy's attack, but you get a nice fancy little counterattack. While this does have decent stagger, it doesn't hit too hard, it's really much more about avoiding the damage from the enemy attack and continuing your combo. You're also able to charge up heavy attacks, which is kind of just a one bonk on a lot of weaker enemies, or it does significant damage on the tankier regular mobs. You're able to spin your staff to deflect ranged projectiles. And as you keep playing, you also gain a transformation. This is a powerful spirit ability where you turn into a monster, like, the form of that mini-boss that I beat earlier after spending like an hour on the fight. And you get to execute one attack. Also, your skill enhancements not only allow you to further customize the gameplay, but they also just make things straight up better. You get to execute things while sprinting costs less stamina, dodging costs less stamina, all sorts of fun stuff like that. And when it all comes together, it makes combat feel way more dynamic. For example, here's a boss that I fought a little bit later in the story. And this was the first 2-phase boss that I fought, so at this point, things are getting pretty darn serious.
Summon. You have forced my hand. Now you shall face what I truly am. Denying fate means death. Halt! No ill will, I bear. I'm merely my brother's eyes and ears. I feign my loyalty to guard this path on the bear's order. Your destiny's bleak and stark. In its grip, we share the mark. The Guanyin temple now lies in cinders, yet the elder soul endures. The root of greed ever fosters the stem of suffering. Better to forget the thing you truly seek. The three bells. Have you seen them all? Do you too desire that which they ceaselessly hold dear?
Now maybe it's just because I've never read Journey to the West, but so far the lore has been rather difficult to follow. That said, it's not like I could easily follow the lore of Elden Ring either, that's why I watched several hours of VaatiVidya's excellent work. And so here's hoping that in the future there's some lore videos on Black Myth Wukong that I can follow along with. And so with that boss down, I guess it's time for me to continue my journey into the West. Honestly, going into this game, I didn't know what to expect. It could have been really good, it could have been super clunky, it could have ran terribly. At least for me so far, it's ran really well. A couple times when it's swapping from a cutscene to gameplay to a cutscene, there's a little bit of a stutter that's a tell, enough that you'll notice it, not enough to actually ruin the game. But during boss fights and during gameplay, it's been smooth as butter, at least for me so far. And so far the game's had a really good flow to it. It's definitely a bit more forgiving than Souls titles. Yes, a boss will absolutely destroy you, but you don't actually lose any souls on death. You don't lose any progression. So you'll just keep leveling up, continuing to accumulate power, and eventually be able to beat the boss's face in. Or, maybe you'll pay attention to the fight, get good, and do it much, much faster. Something that I probably could have learned from a little bit when I was fighting that first mini-boss. But hey, it's probably about time that I get back to the game. So, if you've already played Black Myth Wukong for yourself, let me know some of your first impressions down in the comments below. And if you haven't played yet, let me know. Do you like what you see, or are you going to give this one a pass? On the other hand, if you want to see some of my thoughts on Elden Ring after completing both the game and the DLC, then check out the best game that I played in June of 2024. That'll be linked up in the card and down below. Also, before I go, a big thanks to my patrons and channel members for the continued support. For as low as $1 a month, you can make videos just like this one possible. Link to support is also down below. And a big thanks to everyone who watched to the end. I'm glad you enjoyed the video. I've certainly had a lot of fun playing the game so far, so you can probably expect at least a few more in the future. And don't worry, there's a lot of hack and slash action, but there's also some nice quiet moments we get to meditate, relax, and even level up. And so, now we're at the end. Let's all take a minute to breathe in and out. And with that, I'll see you next time.